voice, so the audio setup should be good. Welcome, everybody. My name is Giuseppe Oliverio. I'm the founder and artistic director of PhMuseum. I'm here with Camila Marrese, the visual director, the visual editor, and Lewis Chaplin from Loose Joint, who led the masterclass this year, and of course all the participants that will present their book. It's a very important moment for us because we've been working together for 8 months to prepare 14 dummies, and we are also not streamers, so we'll try to do our best to keep a nice rhythm and have you enjoy this live show. You can share it with friends. That would be very nice if you can kind of engage people while we do the presentation. That is going to last for around 2 hours. Each participant has 10 minutes, so it's going to be a nice time for discovering the work while keeping a nice rhythm. Before we start, I don't know if Lewis, you want to say something?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Hello, YouTube. My name is Lewis Chaplin. Yeah, I'm the co-director, co-founder of the photography publishing house Loose Joints. I have a fractured collarbone. This isn't normally how I look. And yeah, I'm really proud to present all of these fantastic and interesting students. Bookmaking for photography doesn't ever have one kind of clear path. Every artist and every project has its different routes and its different problems and solutions. And so it's been really interesting to discover a diversity of different approaches and people at all sorts of different stages and intentions of how to, turn their ideas into something printed. So yeah, I just wanted to say congratulations to everybody, no matter what stage you're at as well. Because I hope that the last months have been instructive and interesting in terms of finding new perspectives, getting new knowledge, and also just more importantly, sharing with others, because collaboration for me as a publisher is the cornerstone of really, successful photography publishing, whether that's a great collaboration with the artist, with a graphic designer, with a publisher, whatever. And I think this whole thing's been a lot about sharing your ideas. So I'm looking forward to seeing this final sharing. And yeah, that's about it for me.
Okay, great, Lewis. Thanks so much, and thanks for all the time you dedicated to this project this year. The first participant to present is Jack Greenwood. Please feel free to start.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'll load it up now. Give me 1 second. Great. Can everyone see?
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, my name is Jack Greenwood. This is my project, All His Engines. I've got a few slides to talk about some of the images in the work and generally what the project's about. And then I'm going to get into the book, and I've got a video playthrough of the book and read some copy for the book that I've produced as well. So generally, my project is about exploring sort of neurodiverse and autistic perception as a type of methodology for thinking about the everyday in a new way through photography. That's sort of the general conceptual basis for the project. So when I was thinking about autism or my own autistic lived experience, I was very much thinking spatially, how I sort of perceive things through space, how my eyes jump from one object to the other. And I noticed that my eyes sometimes jump quite abruptly from one surface to the next. And I really wanted to design sort of a photograph or an image in space that really communicated that. So what I really wanted to create in these images was sort of a tension between the idea of you being able to situate yourself in front of a photograph, whether that's in a book or on a screen or on a gallery wall, but then you can't always situate yourself in the space of the photograph. So there's a tension between the photograph itself and then not being able to actually put your body inside the space of the picture and relate to those objects. And I feel very much, because photography is a static medium and sort of perception is sort of a process-based, quite material process. And so I was trying to find the way to design a series of images that sort of somehow could communicate that. And I felt like constructing these very sort of tightly cropped imaging spaces where you can't really situate the scale of the object sort of best to best try to do that. I also was looking for specific objects and surfaces in the project. So I was looking for things that could represent the body in some way. So I was looking for sort of arms and faces and things that maybe could represent nails. And I was also looking for sort of surfaces and objects that may appear indifferent or a combination of the two. So like, for example, this image on the left here, this has got quite a bodily type of snake-like form. And then it's got this sort of foam that's fallen away from it a little bit that's sort of quite fleshy, really. So this sort of object has got this type of bodily edge to it, but then at the same time, it's got these parts of it that are indifferent to itself. For example, the foam is quite indifferent to, let's say, the rest of the tubing, right? So I was looking for objects that were either a combination of the two or one or the other. And what I sort of like felt through doing this project and sort of putting the photo book together, that what the neurodiverse could offer the everyday through photography was maybe about thinking about this as a process of reciprocity. So the everyday as a type of subject in the photographic world and photo books that sort of tackle that subject is this idea that the photographer goes out in the world and they sort of imbue these sort of in these type of mute objects of importance, right? But I was much more interested in this idea that being reciprocal in some way, right? That I was having this quite intimate experience with these objects, and I felt like I was giving something back to them and they were giving something to me. So it became, yeah, a process that was reciprocal, really. I felt it was in the end. And maybe that's something I'm still developing, as well as sort of trying to type of round off in the book in some way. So just to break that down in some tech specs for the book, the book's going to be 20 by 25. It's 44 pages. It's a hardbound cloth book with a quite thick weave, and I wanted the thick weave to be quite a tacit and material quality, because as artistic people, we quite like things that feel very type of particular, and I quite like this idea of the weave contrasting well with the type of satin smooth finish of the embossed image on the front cover. The inside paper is going to be Fedrigoni digital. I'm thinking about doing this digital offset as a type if I'm self-publishing to keep the cost down. And I'm thinking about going with Precision or Book One as a printer. So some of these technical specs may change depending, but that's sort of what I'm working through at the moment. So for now, what I'm going to do is just share a video playthrough of the book and then read the copy over that I've written for the images, and then maybe invite some questions at the end if anyone has anything. Can everyone see the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. So all these engines explored the notion of artistic perception as a visual language to rethink the potential of our everyday experience. In a world where the everyday has become representational and democratized through digital media technologies, this project attempts to outline a speculative photographic world of the everyday, one based on the neurodiverse, where there is no hierarchy between the senses, inside out, skin material, hot, cold. The project presents a world bathed in artificial light of flash and puncturing compressed spaces where spectral forces linger at every turn. The camera latches onto surfaces and objects, hunting for remnants of bodily interactions and marks and traces of indifference. The result leaves us with a series of provisional images that decenter the neurotypical and invite the viewer to reconsider these photographs as the extensions of the artistic body in the making. All these engines position the neurodiverse as no longer having to represent itself within the world. The image space gives agency to the neurodiverse to talk about its own interaction with the everyday, at the same time remaining speculative in nature. The project offers an alternative language for understanding the artistic lived experience and its relationship with the predominant neurotypical worldview. So that's sort of the project where it's at the moment, the book. It'd be great to get some questions if anyone has any about the project.
Great. Thanks so much, Jack. Great presentation, very clear, on point. I want to ask you a question that we discussed briefly the last time we had a conversation online before this meeting. That is like, how does it feel like to have a project like yours that is kind of constantly expanding and evolving, and at the same time having the constraint of the book format that at some point, you have to do the dummy and possibly publish it? Like,
I guess so. Like, for example, like when I was thinking about these images being quite experiential, right? I was thinking about what design would sort of best express that within the form of the book. But I quite like this idea of putting these quite divergent and sort of complex images in a quite formal framework, really. So the photo book framework that I'm using is quite traditional in a way. It's 20 by 25. It's hard book. It's cloth bound. If anything, it's got this quite traditional type of shell to it. But I quite like that when someone picks up a book and then they get sort of met with their expectations being changed, maybe when they open it. So I quite like this idea of the book being quite stable and quite fixed, while the images feel quite experiential and sort of could go on forever, really. But I'm sort of still making quite a tight edit at the same time, you know? I'm still sort of keeping it to like 44 images rather than, I don't know, like a book this thick or something like that, right? So yeah, it's quite intentional giving it that type of quite deliberate type of stable format. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that cover is really successful in that respect as well, Jack, because it's like you're playing obviously with it's a very kind of conventional, kind of almost stereotype photography book cover of a tipped in image on a cloth cover, but then you've chosen one of the images that's actually really one of the most kind of oblique and kind of imperceptible on the front, and so you're already kind of immediately being invited, to sort of think about that kind of formal juxtaposition in the first place. I just wondered, the only thing I wanted to just hear from you is like, it would be really good to just remind everybody, especially given that maybe there's some people watching this that haven't, that aren't part of this masterclass, about the title, because I think the title also really has a lot of, I think it's a really strong title and captures a lot of what you're trying to do as well.
Yeah, so like, I probably should have started with that, but all these engines is sort of this idea of, so that type of process of seeing as being artistic is quite a process-led material thing. And I was thinking of words that could connotate that, right, really. So like engines feels like talking about production, right? But I chose his on purpose because it's sort of a third person noun. So it's this idea that there's some sort of like production going on, but you can still sort of cast yourself in the pictures, right? So that's another reason why there's no people in the pictures, because I think as soon as you put a person in a photograph, it becomes about them, right? So I'm very much wanting you to see through my eyes as a photographer into this world, rather than for you maybe to see some images of objects and then a person. You're like, oh, well, is it about how these pictures relate to this person and these objects? So yeah, so the title is sort of playing with that. It's about production, and it's sort of playing with it being personal and not personal at the same time. Quite anonymous in a way, I guess. Yeah. Great.
Okay, great, Jax. Best congrats and thanks for opening up the presentation.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks.
The next participant is Layla Motta. Welcome, Layla.
Hi, everyone. I'm Layla. Can you hear me well? I'm in a meeting room.
Yes,
Let's
yes.
go. First, I'm very, very happy to be here with all these amazing projects of everyone. And I want to thank you, Giuseppe, Camila, and Luz. And I'm gonna start sharing. Opa. Sorry, can you see?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna, so this is the cover of the book, Atlantica. I'm gonna read a little bit about the project itself. It's a photo book dummy that it's the result of 5 years photographing a specific region of Brazil, the northern coast of São Paulo state. In this place, the encounter between forest, mountain, and sea gives rise to a unique way of life, marked by a close relationship between the inhabitants of the region and the nature that surrounds them. This is the back of the book. People, fauna, flora, and territory enveloped by the humid force of the forest and the relentless sea spray, and surrounded by the corrosive advance of urbanization, roots, families, and traditions that reproduce involve and dissolve, experiencing a tension between tradition and modernity. The impermanence of life is reflected both in human relationships and in the changing nature of the environment, especially with increasing impacts of climate change. On this coast, and with intimacy with the community, I seek the undefined border between melancholy and enchantment, the edge between the past and that perseveres and the present swallowed up by force of the forest, salt, and time. So now I'm gonna go through the book. It has, I didn't write down, but it has 21 centimeters by 28 and has a soft cover. Just want to read something else that was two pests that I thought that was developed and was it was a conflict that I had before doing the book and was resolved through PhMuseum encounters. So I'm just going to read another 2 paragraphs about that, and then I'll go through the presentation. I had 2 big conflicts that were resolved during our work in PhMuseum. The first one was whether to bring it or not, the extreme climate event that occurred in the region in 2023. It was a record-breaking storm that devastated communities and rerouted huge areas. That happened while I was photographing the region. I know a lot of people that lost family members, their houses, everything they had. It was a huge trauma, but I understood, especially in conversations with Lewis, that I wanted to talk more about the slow changes, passages of time, and dissolutions, rather than the sudden traumas that changes life from one moment to another, including those catastrophic images, was making the book very much about that. The second one was how personal this book should be. I was considering a very personal approach, using my own photographic archive of fading family pictures in this region, and also my own childhood memories in that place that is also fading and changing. Although I thought it was better not to take it so personally, the work is very influenced by this feeling that memories fade and dissolve by something from the past remains intact. But at the same time, it's increasingly difficult to express in words and images what is that remains. The book is a lot about that, the difficulty to define the frontier between what is lost and what remains. Here's the text that I'm still working on. Couldn't be ready for this. And this is the from the back, you know, when you flip back the I don't know the name, and it's the places that I photographed.
Oh, so this is like inside the flap, is that what you mean? Like when the cover
Yeah,
like
exactly.
folds back over. Nice.
Yeah, I forgot to explain that in the beginning as well with those. I was trying to put a map there. I'm still like working a little bit in this part. This is the back. Yeah, and this is a map. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. I don't know if anyone has
It's really wonderful, Layla.
questions. Thank you, Francisco.
Yeah, it's looking really great, Layla. Well done. I have a couple of questions, just some technical ones. I think it would be lovely I'd love to hear from you a bit more about how you found it collaborating with the graphic design studio in terms of like the cover's really beautiful that they've come up with. What was that process like? You know, did you have lots of ideas? Did they have lots of ideas? What was the feeling that you kind of landed on that really made this cover work best for you? And then I'm also curious about the person who's writing the essay. Who is that? I don't think you've explained who that person is. So that I'd be interested to know what you want to get out of that text and how that will add to the series.
Right. About the designer, his name is João. He became a close friend of mine. He designed my last book as well.
Cool.
And he's very he has an intimacy with my work already. And so I think when I was telling him about the ideas, the first idea was not to have the title in the front of the book, was to keep something more mysterious. And then we were trying to find some image that could not use as a photograph, but more as a graphic and just give like a glimpse of what's coming, and to keep a bit of the mystery. That comes with the same idea with the black. I think it felt that the black involved better the images instead of the white paper, and it kept that mystery a little bit and kept a bit lower the vibe instead of like too many white space. And so I think the cover was that, and then we were trying like he tried different colors and stuff, and I think at the end in the blue was very very right for the. I'm not that sure about the text in blue as well, inside text, how that's gonna read, because I did a test but wasn't in the right paper, so let's see. I still need to do those tests. And about the text, it's Bruno Torturra. He's a journalist, but he's also an environmentalist and an activist, but he's also happened to be my husband. But I mean, I would never choose my husband to write a text if it wasn't the right person.
Yeah, that's relevant.
So he's also like very, because there is this thing of like intimacy with the place and understanding this place, but also to bring something else as the idea of the text that what we've been talking to, it's this idea of dissolution of a place, that it's what I was talking more or less in the beginning. And then I think there is a specific image in the book that it's the genealogy tree that has that symbolic idea of the root is there, but it's always changing, but it's always there. So it's a bit about this dissolution. So we're thinking if the text is coming, has to do with that, has to do with water, has to do with maybe not bringing the climate change idea, but I mean the idea, yes, but not literal. So we're it's like it's something between like a scientific text and intimate text with the, you know, we're trying to find that balance that it's
yeah, of course. I
more,
mean, there obviously that intimacy naturally will be there too if he obviously knows the place very well. So that yeah, that sounds exciting. And for the cover, my remark that I was thinking about is how I like that, you know, it's quite a contemporary looking cover in terms of the, you know, the typographic choice and the positioning, and, you know, even the type being quite kind of tight and spaced. And I think that works quite well in terms of, you know, situating that in relationship to the images as well.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. Yeah, in the end, sorry, just one more thing about that is that, so we decided when was only the graphic, it felt that wasn't strong enough. We want to add the title, and yeah, that's what happened. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you, Lewis.
Thank you, Layla.
I forgot to say that there's also someone, Vitor, that I've been working with in the edit and was very important throughout this process. So I want to thank him as well as Bruno and João. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Layla, and yeah, congrats. I think you did a great job also in, you know, setting the tone and the user call, or like recalling how the project started. So I'm sure you will also find a right balance for the text.
Thank you, Giuseppe.
Nice. So thanks again, Layla. The next participant to present is Claudia Fuggetti. Hello, Claudia.
Everyone. Can you see it? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. My project, my book is called Acid Flare, and is composed by my two projects, Hot Zone from 2021 and Metamorphosis from 2024. The name of the book is inspired by Aldous Huxley and the Doors of Perception. Acid because in both projects I use pop brilliant and acid colors that usually I use to underline the consumption of natural resources. And flare because the entire book is a fracture of the landscape. The two projects are about the climate change as a crisis of perception and characterize my artistic practice. So the book is composed by these two parts. The first is this black box that I would like to realize with a laser cut. And the second is the soft cover. So during the masterclass, I've changed some ideas. For example, I've changed the format. Now is more bigger than an A4, like as the last call you suggest me. The slipcase, I would like to realize it with possibly eco-friendly materials. And the internal of the book is a soft cover, and in my work is characterized by brilliant colors, and sometimes it could be hard to reproduce it with the print. So I was, from the last time, I've decided to use this matte premium coated paper that is a compromise between the coated and uncoated paper because the sequence is full of blacks. This is a preview of the book at the inside. The edges are black like the box. And this is the final sequence that I organized. At the beginning, I was unsure about the intensity of my work because it's full of aggressive images. But now I think I've found, with your help, Lewis, Pepe, and Camilla, the harmonious sequence, I think. I would like to add another 2 pages at the end because I would like to dedicate this book to my family and my father that is seriously ill. This is also a preview from the inside of the book. And that's it. So I want to show you. I don't know if you can see the sequence.
Yes, we do, Claudia. I think you can zoom in if you can also a little bit more.
I would prefer if you could go page by page, actually, if that's possible. You know, like on some of the other presentations, to actually like flick through so we get more of a sense of rhythm. Is that possible? Have you got the PDF?
Yeah.
Cool.
While you find the PDF, Claudia, I recall that all the dummies will be exhibited at Photobook Mania in Bologna in October, on 18-19 of October. So it's a very nice occasion to come.
Yeah, for sure. I would like to print it. I know it's hard, but finally.
We still see the same screen at the moment.
Maybe I need to represent the, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, that's great, Claudia. Thanks.
Thank you.
Sorry, that's why I talk about the festival, just to buy you some time, not.
Okay, and that's it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Claudia. Yeah, really great to actually go through it image by image like that and see how it all kind of resolved itself. How do you feel? Do you feel like everything's kind of ready to go, ready to print? Are there extra things you want to kind of add or remove?
I would like to add these 2 black pages at the end, and
Yeah.
at the moment, also I would like to ask someone to realize a text about it, because it's a compendium of my 2 works. So it's a kind of overview of my artistic practice since 2021 to 2025, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So at the moment, I need probably to finish this part, and I think that the hardest part will be to find the material for the box, because it's a bit complicated to realize it, but it's my dream book.
You should probably think about a 3D printing place, no? Like in theory, that could be, potentially 3D printed in plastic. Maybe that's the best solution.
Yeah, I would like to find a material in between paper and plastic, possibly recycled.
Yeah.
But let's see.
Yeah, there are some amazing recycled types of recycled plastic that exist. If you do a little bit of research, that have really interesting and kind of unique kind of textures and patterns. Some of them are almost a bit kind of like terrazzo, and then others have very kind of different feelings to conventional materials, and they have obviously that ecological quality to them that's quite interesting.
Thank you very much for your support.
Yeah, I found one in Korea, I think I can share with you, which is very nice, and also like it's not perfect black, which is nice because maybe you have a texture that is more rough, and it's totally recycled. So yeah, that can be a nice touch.
There's some places in Europe too. There's a British company and a French company too. I can send you them as well later.
Amazing, thank you very much. It was an amazing experience, and thank you to all the class in general.
Thanks so much, Claudia. Thank you. The next one to present is Viridiana Morandini. Hello, Viri.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So I'm gonna open the presentation. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is my project. I choose a simple cover and design. So this is the cover, because as a personal project, I wanted to have like a simple layout and something maybe that can say something about my personality. And I don't like to draw so much attention to myself, so that's why I put the name and the title in the spine of the book. And also I like science and have like pose so between the images. So the layout it's working in this sense, and there is a connection between cover and back. I really wanted to have this black and white photo in the cover. But I was looking for some color picture for the back, because in the book I mix color and black and white. So this is the inside. I gonna have like an exposed spin, so you can open the book completely, so to see the landscape images without losing part of the photo. And okay, let's go. Okay, I'm gonna show a little bit the mock-up, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about the project. So this book was born for the need to organize my photography archive from the last almost 12 years. So there are not photos taken with the idea to have like or to be a book. It's not a diary, so it's, for me at least, it was more like I was trying to creating a kind of emotional dialogue between myself and what has surrounded me in the past years. I think I had some kind of obsessions with document everything that happened around me, with the idea to not forget it, or to not forget like one specific moment. Maybe it's because I used to live in different countries and different cities, and I since I was a child, I knew that the people is going back, too fast, and I never had like a place where come back, because my family also live in different places. So I think that this needed to have it like every moment of my life, like to have it like a record or in photos is something that it helped me to found like a concept for the book. So there is not a chronological order. I think it's more like a metaphor about many concepts as arbitrariness of life, passing of time, youth, friendships. I also like vulnerability. So that's why sometimes I try to take photos of people like sleeping. I have like many photos. I realize that I have many photos of people sleeping, and maybe it's because I like to connect and to have like this power in some point to be able to be in the right moment, in the right place, and to connect with my friends and with my family, and to can take these photos. So also there is quotidianity, like not has to be like beautiful moments all the time. There are also like more random or ugly moments, but it's part of the life, I guess. So having white space for me is capturing the idea about time and about pose, and also the sequences where the people are sleeping. No, for me it's like you lose the 34% of your life sleeping, no? So there are a lot of, I think, metaphor in the book. So then I wanted to show a little bit the process of research, because as I said before, I had like 100 of negative. So it was a super difficult process. So I started just to scan them and then to print the pictures that I thought they were, that I could create some kind of dialogue between them, and trying to find some color pattern, contraposition, dialogues between the pictures. So it was so laborious. So this okay. So at the end, the technical print is gonna be like I think I have around 70 photos, no, 70 pages and 100 images, and the cover is gonna be soft cover. I'm gonna go up again to see the mock-up. Soft cover, because I like to have something easy to hold in your hands, and not too big. So it's gonna be 170 times 35 millimeters. And I don't know if I have some minutes to show. I can show you the PDF.
Yes, we have time.
Thank you. Can you see it?
Yep.
And that's it.
Great. Thank you so much, Viridiana. Yeah, that looks really great. Really nice presentation. My questions are, you didn't talk about the title. Try and explain to us a bit about that title choice. And then my other question is a more kind of conceptual one, which is what's the main emotion or feeling that you want somebody else to, to get from looking at this project? If you try and imagine a random stranger picking this book up in a bookshop that has no idea who you are or who any of these people are, what's the feeling that you want them to feel?
This is a difficult question. Okay, to explain it in English. So about the title, I wanted to have like a short title and easy to pronounce in different languages, and maybe something not too literal. So Pogo comes to my mind since the beginning, but it wasn't like I didn't like have it too clear. But at the end, I think because I'm all the time looking for metaphor in my project, because I don't want to be so literal. So at the end, I think that because Pogo is it's a kind of dance in the punk concerts, and you are like jumping in the middle of other people, and it's like you can be hard, you can get hard, but at the same time you are enjoying the moment with everyone. So it's like living intense, as you are young and you think that it never is going to pass this I don't know, these years of your life. So I thought it would be a good metaphor to explain this year of youth, and that are the base of this project and of these photos, I guess. And the other question, I don't know. I mean, I think I would like, because since I started this project, I show the picture and the process to a lot of friends of mine. So I think I like to the other people explain me what they feel about the project and about the photos. At the end, I think it's something relative with the relations in all the in relation, but not just relationships. It's like friendships, and also some kind of quotidian feeling, and I think I have a lot of scare to miss people that are important in your life, or that kind of melancholy. Yeah, I think it's one of the most important things and metaphor in the book. Like I don't know, like try to remember the old moments and the old friends, and don't let it go. Just keep it in, I don't know, in some physical object, and I think it's what I wanted to share with the people in the book.
Cool. Great. Thanks. That was a nice answer. Anyone else have anything else to say, or any other questions? No? All right.
Okay, so I think that's it. I just want to say that I started this project 2 years ago, and without the help of Camila and Giuseppe first, and then Lois and the rest of the group, I don't think I will be able to finish it. So thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you, Viridiana.
Thank you so much, Viridiana. I was thinking about that when you were presenting, that we met more than 8 years ago in Milan. So it's so nice to see the work in this beautiful format today.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks so much, Viri. The next person to present is Elo Vazquez. Welcome, Elo.
Hi, sorry, I had my audio off. I'm going to open these. And okay, can you see it? Is everything good?
Yes.
Okay, so hi everyone. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to Giuseppe and Cami and Luis for this great year. Also, of course, my amazing classmates and everyone that has connected to see all of our presentations. My name is Elo Vazquez, and I am a Spanish photographer and a DJ based between Barcelona and Reykjavik in Iceland. And I knew I wanted to be a mother the moment that I saw some tiny Levi's pants in some store many years ago. And my work, 9 Waves, is about how hard it was to make that dream come true. It is a personal story about waiting, searching, uncertainty, and years of infertility. That, if you don't know what it is, according to the World Health Organization, it is the inability to get pregnant after 12 months of actively trying. And even though it is a very relevant topic, it hasn't been treated in history the way it should. Basically, because we're talking about a void that takes place in the female body and that is usually kept in silence. And with this work, what I want to do is just bring attention to this reality that right now it's affecting 1 out of 6 couples, but that will continue to affect future generations. Because by the year 2050, it is expected that the 41% of men will be infertile. I'm going to start with work methodology. Well, since I started working on this project when I was already a mother, this is not strictly documentary work. I had to recall feelings from back then and ways of connecting to all the other women that have been through the same. So I started reading about fertility rituals and old beliefs, and I started recreating them. And also, I took portraits of friends' kids that were born during the almost 6 years that I was trying to conceive. Making the book and, well, 9 Waves in general has been a huge challenge because of the emotional complexity of infertility and how to present everything in a visual way. One of the reasons is that I tend to produce photos that live in a very, very colorful world. And this is probably because of the time that has passed already, my own memory of the process, and the fact that I am a mother now. But instead of tuning these colors down, I just decided to embrace them, and instead using the book architecture to create new layers inside the work. So the cover, for example, which is a watercolor made by the book designer Jordi Oms, captures, I think, the essence of the whole work. The waves, the whole mess, the darkness, the stains on the bed, the hope in the color of my pictures, and also the darkness of the midnight in the ritual of the 9 waves that I tell you a little bit later. What is it about? And I frame it within 2 different waiting rooms, just to try to mirror the cyclical nature of infertility, which is hope, uncertainty, desire, loss. And there is one replica of one of the waiting room tickets that I used to hold back in the days to bring the reader to the same physical experience that I had. And this is one of the paintings that hang on one of those waiting room walls in the hospital that I used to go. And here it is. Another of the elements is the 9 waves. They come and go throughout the book. And yeah, they are printed in a slightly see-through paper. So you can sense a bit of what's coming after, which is usually a child that is not your child. Now a little bit about the technical information of the book. It's going to be hardcover with a rounded spine. It will be printed in Fedrigoni paper and the translucent natural for the waves. It will have 151 pages and it's going to be 16.5 by 22 centimeters, which is pretty small, just for the intimate subject it is about. And the text, I really wanted to keep it very subtle, like the whole book. So I decided to explain what the title meant just at the very end. And I'm going to do it now. So at midnight on the last Saturday of August, on Alanzada beach in Galicia, Spain, women trying to conceive step into the sea. As 9 waves wash over the wombs, the ritual becomes a symbol of renewal, fertility, and the hope for new life. And yeah, this book is dedicated to Oliver and Leo, my children, the ones that make me a mother. And yeah, I hope that you can see it in the Photobook Mania Festival and hopefully published soon also. Thank you so much.
Happy belated Mother Day, Elo.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. I'm just curious, how did you, at what point you start working with the designer for the cover and all the details that you illustrated? Because I think you did a very nice job in putting your expertise and the designer expertise together for this project.
Yeah, great cover.
So I talked to him just slightly before Easter and told him about the project and everything. And I actually saw the cover last Friday. So I was pretty scared, but also pretty excited because I really trust Jordi. And when I saw it, I just saw my project in one image. So I'm very, very happy with this work. I can see exactly the colors of many of my pictures. And just, yeah, the stain picture at the beginning that I showed, he hadn't seen that picture. So it immediately brought me to this image. And I thought it was magical, just this connection. So yeah, it's been, I mean, we've been working together, but I just saw the result on Friday.
Yeah, I think it's a great cover, because it's also, you know, it's really interesting sometimes to step outside a little bit of some of the photo book language, especially when you're trying to you know, talk about the subject that hopefully would be interesting and resonate with people who are maybe not necessarily just kind of photographic connoisseurs. And a cover like this really can give that kind of opening out and access to, because you can imagine seeing a book like this in a bookshop and it really could suggest and be of interest to a lot of different people. So yeah, I think it's a great cover. And everything looks great. Well done, Elo. Very, very impressive, very beautiful presentation as well. Really nicely explained. So yeah, well done.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, if there is any publisher following us or simply people who love photography, you can write in the chat. YouTube, there is a live chat. So if you have a question or want to participate, we try to engage also with those who are following us at home. Thank you very much again, Elo, and welcome Slavena Todorova, next participant to present.
Yeah, hello everybody. Let me share. You can see my screen?
Yes.
Good. So, hello everybody. I'm Slavena, a Bulgarian architect currently based in Sofia. The project I will share with you today began 2 years ago. At the time, it became a way for me to escape the routines of my 9-to-5 city life and occasionally return to my family in my hometown. It started intuitively because I was suddenly completely mesmerized by the Danube River, which flows beside my hometown, and I didn't know why. The meaning came later as I began to reflect on what I was doing. The project is called The River Is Not Blue, and it is rooted in my childhood, shaped by my grandfather's vivid imaginative stories told as we wandered the edges of the Danube River, its banks, waters and islands. Though he never left that town, he lived countless lives through his imagination, taking me with him on journeys far beyond the riverbanks and sometimes even beyond the world we knew. Most of those stories have faded now and I can no longer recall the details or endings, but only the feelings of wonder, longing and sense of vastness just beyond reach. I remember sitting by the river where it felt like his stories lived in the landscape, carried by the water and the shifting light. And what he gave me wasn't just stories, but a key, a way into something larger, an invitation to go beyond the known. And with this book, I hope to pass that key along, to offer the same sense of quiet wonder he once gave me. Because the work emerged so intuitively, I later tried to understand how I was actually engaging with the images, and 3 things become clear. The first one is that after every walk, I would return home and go through the photographs obsessively, zooming in, examining each fragment, searching for something that I couldn't quite name. The second thing is that I would begin cropping those fragments and trying to piece them together as if each image contained parts of a bigger unsolved puzzle. There were endless ways they could fit together, each combination suggesting a different story. It reminded me of how my grandfather told his narratives, reordering words, changing tones, always reshaping the same memory into something new. And the third thing is that I began to notice that the images naturally fell into 3 distinct groups, each asking its own question. The first was drawn to light and how it touches surfaces, how it bends, scatters and reshapes itself depending on what it meets. The second group lingered in the realm of obscurity and in the in-between spaces where forms dissolve. The third group searched for a kind of underlying structure, a backbone that might hold all the fragments together in a larger whole. So I created these 3 separate booklets according to the 3 groups of images I had, and these are the spreads. And I used the structure that reflects my working process, a leporello with an additional gatefold, which I think invite the viewer to explore different scenarios while conveying the same intuitive, layered and open-ended feeling. And then I chose to place them, the 3 booklets, side by side to suggest their interconnection. And the decision opened up many ways of experiencing the work. The viewer can engage with each book separately, or to rearrange them freely, allowing new narratives to unfold with each encounter. Then the cover emerged naturally, like a shelter gathering the books within. It works as an invitation to play, to unfold, and to create a new narrative each time the book is opened. And it's just a gradual revealing where meaning emerges piece by piece. And this is the spread of the cover. Details are on the back and the stone on the front. Between them lie the title and the small poem I have written as an invitation in words. And I left the inner section intentionally empty, where the booklets sit, to give space, the landscape within to expand. And now I will show you one of the ways the work can be approached. So, thank you, Luis, Giuseppe, Camilla, Rosa, and all the participants, and all the people involved in my chaotic process.
That was great. Thank you so much, Slavena. Yeah, really beautiful this this video at the end here. It made me also think about, I just like quickly Googled it. I think if each of your booklets is 36 pages and you have 3 of them, it means that you could do, there are 46,000 different possible combinations of spread that you could that somebody could do, and that obviously speaks in a really nice way to this idea of the river and the landscape, and it's kind of the impossibility of trying to hold it. So I think that's a great example of where book design and the form of the object is really bringing something that's crucial to the narrative in there. One question, I would love to know more about what's on the back cover there, because I can see we've got these 2 rocks, and then there's this block of text or something, but I couldn't really see. Where is that? I just wasn't totally
here.
Yeah. Okay.
You can see it. Yeah, I have one of the stones here.
Yeah.
Then I open. I have the second one. Here is the title of the name, and then the poem. But it's a bit difficult to.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this one and here. Yeah. Also.
It's there. And what's that text saying?
The poem. I can read it.
Yeah, go on.
It is a few lines. Once I was told the river is not blue. I didn't understand. I couldn't. But one day I watched it swallow the sky, turning to mirror, to glass, to nothing. It was never blue. It was never even river. It was the motion, the memory, shaped in a color we were told to see. Like rivers, we were told were blue. My grandfather's words return in dreams. But like water, memory holds no power, only reflection, only what we bring to it. His words never stayed whole, they slipped between meanings, echoed in the silent pauses, drowned in motion, shimmering with illusions. Perhaps it was never about the story, but the way it bent the frame of thought, how the world turned sideways, where marsh and sky exchanged names. The river is not blue, the river is not nameable, the river is the story that forgets it is a story, and still goes on whispering beneath our sleep. So that's the point.
That's great, thank you. I'd like to know also a bit about the actual like production side of making, that dummy, because that's obviously a really kind of complex object, and it looks like you executed it very well. So did you team up with a bookbinder? Did you figure it all out by hand? And what's the next step as well? Do you want to try and produce a limited run of these, or will you be trying to show it to some publishers? What's the next step?
I'm still unsure because I tried to make it by my own, just to print the spreads with an additional ink and try to glue them together. But I'm not sure how I have to proceed next to make some copies, because for one copy it was the right decision, but for 10 or more,
Yeah, I bet.
we'll go with it. And I thought that it was the easiest idea because I have spread by spread, and I glue them, and I thought this is the easiest way to make the book and only print on one side. But when I go to the printer house, it was like, no, we can't do that. And I was like, no, it is easy. So yeah, I'm not sure what are the next steps, to be honest.
Well, this is a great first step. So well done.
Thank you, Luis.
Yeah, great. Congrats, Slavena. Very beautiful presentation. And yeah, you're almost ready also for an exhibition with considering all the combination that Louis told us.
Calculated, yeah.
It's a book for multiple purposes, but yeah, very, very best. Congrats.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Thank you.
The next participant is Nataya Taida.
Okay, hi. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen now. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good. Hi, my name is Nataya Taida from Thailand, and my project called May the Matter Rest. It's I started photographs since 2020 after the death of my mom, but back then I didn't really think of it as like a project. But then, like as times go by, I feel like these things that happen with me and my siblings in a family, I feel like if I didn't really let it out as like some kind of form or tangible stuff, and in this case it's photo book, so I feel like it's still in me in some way, and feel like this is time to let it go. And the story is after my mother passed away in March 2020, my sibling and I just found out that she had this secret with her, like a lot of money issues and entangled with like big people, like government officials, like police or former officers, and me and my sibling has to go through court so many times about a thing that we didn't know that she did with the money. It's a lot of money involving. And this is some of the images. Oh, sorry. That kind of wrapped up what's the project is give kind of feeling. It's a family bond and what's more than just love and care. And this is the cover. I know it's different from the last time that you guys see the work. And this one I work with my dear friend. She's also an artist. Her name is Kamalak Sokshai. So we were talking about like how do I portray or convey this story without using that black line as I showed the other time. And she saw one of these images of the flower that I hold, and she didn't know what is it, where is it, or when is it, but it actually was at the backyard of my mom's house. And she said this kind of feeling that she get about this image is kind of like you're trying to holding on to something that is already like, you know, far apart. So we use that image and combined with the legal documents, and this paper is the preliminary hearing documents, which kind of like an invitation of, you know, give the sense of it's not just only about like, you know, emotional part or poetic images or story. Yeah. So the book will go through in 3 parts. The first part is I start with the funeral and the residue of home. So the layout is going to be like, you know, kind of a classic way. So to introduce the story like slowly from the funeral and what's going on in that. But in that sense, in this part, I kind of focus on like a detailed oriented. So it's kind of elements of here and there where you can imagine like the whole picture around it by yourself. And the second part is the secrets. So I use this technique, black on black, because, you know, the feeling that we know when we receive this information that our mom was you know, involved with this issues. It was in the hospital, and, you know, I mixed the legal documents with the images of the hospital elements in this part, and also like the police involvement here. So it kind of gives this like you're not so, you can't really see it well, but you know it's something there, and it's kind of creeps in to you, and you kind of have to really look into it. It's gives a sense of like you're searching for something, but you will never know what it is actually, which our mom never really tell us what it is. And the last part will be grow up and grow apart. This part I divided images, you know, like to give this mixed feeling or ambivalence. And, you know, like as we grow older and, you know, distance become a big part of me and my siblings, especially my sister, even though we know that we love each other, but somehow, you know, we kind of grow apart in that sense. And the text in the book will come like last. I didn't use the chat type as Lewis recommended the other time, but I still use these elements of the notes where it's from the chat where my siblings sent. So I keep these elements of the note where it stay in the chats in here. It's to indicate the time and the date. And yeah, I have it in Thai and in English, but in English, I maybe have to really translate better. So because it's a little short time when they send it to me, and so I will have to work on that. And the next one will be like the whole grid of overall. I didn't put the black on black in the part because maybe you can't really see it. So I show the file from the InDesign like right here. So yeah, the text will be at the end where I translate as well. And yeah, thank you so much for everything, like Lewis, Giuseppe, Camilla, and all the fellow participants for your guidance, mentorship, and friendship. Yeah, thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Natthaya. Yeah, looks really great. About the text, I'm curious about So you have one from each of your siblings. Is that correct?
One from each, yes.
Yeah. What were they like, the text? How does each one of them feel? Do they feel different? What information do you think the texts help you to develop the photographic narrative?
Surprisingly, my brother wrote a very long text, and since from the start where what is the family to him, and we didn't live together as a family for just a long time, and then my mom gets sick, she passed, and then the court and the time now that he felt like this is a time for him to really live on his own. So it's really like kind of open end for him. And my sister actually wrote quite short, like two small paragraphs, but it's kind of wrapped up everything. But I still feel like I wish she could wrote something longer, because I know that she has so many in her, because she also in the court she has to go through more than me and my brother even. But yeah, I think it depends on like how much they're willing to give. I know I don't want to force them if they like don't feel like it, but eventually I think maybe I really have to like talk to them more. I want this to be the work of us. So I don't write any text because I already like do everything in the book. So I hope that they will feel in that sense too, that the book is also theirs, not just mine.
For sure. I just think it's always important to question what a text is adding or sometimes taking away from the narrative as well. If you think about, again, like I've said with Viridiana, like about the random stranger that finds the project. It's like, what will the information from those texts make them feel completely differently about the previous images that they've seen? Will they reinforce ideas that maybe they already had? It's just a really important thing to reflect on every time that we add a text to a project, because it does slightly shape the way that the photographs read.
Okay. Yes. That's for sure.
But yeah, all looks brilliant. I really like the new cover direction as well. I think this feels a bit more subtle, because it's still communicated. It communicates more the kind of, it has the bureaucratic edge, but it's more kind of vague, and it's literally kind of blurred and obscured, and it captures a good feeling.
Okay.
But yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job, Natthaya. Thanks so much. I'm happy how you kind of balance the two souls of the project, if you want. There is the more informative narrative part and the more emotional. And it feels like a very good flow to me. So yeah, I'm also happy also of the cover, maybe also because of that, because it's I don't know, a nice representation, nice intro for the project.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much again, Natthaya. The next one to present is Greta Valente. Welcome, Greta.
Hello, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Greta Valente, a freelance photographer and post-producer based actually in Turin. And during FOLIO, I developed the dummy of my latest project entitled It Takes All Kinds. One of the first exercise that Lewis suggested to us was to summarize our works in one sentence. So finally, I can say that the project documents a series of relationships that constitute some examples of cohabitation between human and non-human beings living within the Aosta Valley territory. In particular, the work focuses on how human beings try to understand the surrounding in which they live. In this project, I had the opportunity to collaborate with several organizations involved in reception, care, and study of wild animals. Whether it be the State Wild Animal Recovery Center, so the CRAS, the SERMAS, the organization that study disease transmitted from human to wild animals and vice versa. A farmer who practices extensive farming or a park ranger in the Gran Paradiso, the gaze turned toward the living is a gaze that try to understand the surrounding world. So this concept also tends to manifest itself within the landscape and in the folklore of the territory, with constant references to the natural balance that has always been established between the two parts. Sorry. Here we can see the general info about the photobook dummy. The format 21 for 27.5 centimeters. And there will be 132 pages in 80 color plates, the bossed carded bound hardcover, and with Lewis, we decided to focus on coated paper. In particular, I would like to print on Fedrigoni symbol free line satin because it has a high content of recycled fiber. So I think it's a key point of my work. The font is Aosta Valley, and inside the book you can find also a text by Alice Cretier and 2 illustrations by Eleusi. Here I focus on the cover. The dummy cover remains rigid and formal, reminiscent of archival and research documents. On the front you can see a plastic model of the Aosta Valley mountains that can be linked to land studies. In fact, we often find them in museums. And on the back, we find wall protection for fallen rocks on a real mountain. So a way of protecting human and non-human beings in the territory. And the spine of the book is made of fabric. As regarding the illustrations, they are inserted after the colored cardboard, the green cardboard, for a more modern and soft result. And they are designed by Eleusi, an amazing artist of the Aosta Valley, who work on the key elements of the project using old books as inspirations. Each element of the pattern is unique, and I think it's very nice because it reminds me a lot of the mountain that looks always the same but changes all the time when properly observed. As regarding the font, it is in fact the Aosta Valley by Viola Marinelli, Luigi Bevilacqua, and Arnaldo Filippini. The font creation is dedicated to the region, and extensive research was carried out on aesthetic influences and ancient scripts. Various liturgical manuscripts, private writings, and political archives were studied to realize it. Here we can see the flat plan, the entire flat plan of the dummy. This is the first part, then we can see the second one. And for me, one of the most difficult part of the masterclass was the editing, because I have a lot of images, also on black and white, color, Polaroids. I made the choice to maintain, we use obviously, only the colored ones, and to alternate between images obtained within the wildlife rescue organizations and those with portraits, landscapes, still lifes, and details. At the beginning of the book, I need to write a small introduction to present some concepts that are fundamental to me. And as you can see, there are also some portraits to people who work within the CRAS, the SERMAS, and who were, and also some people who were crucial to reintegrate wild animals in Aosta Valley, especially ibex and chamois, and who survived wild accidents such as Luis Oreille or Milena Betats, who are key figures still today in the Aosta Valley. At the end of the book, there is a text written by Alice Cretier, an anthropologist specialized in mountain socio-ecosystems. So I have 3 macro groups for the layout. The double pages, in fact, the diptychs, where I try to match images by similarities, colors, concept, and also opposite ideas, like this one. the horizontal pages where the paper is cut out to emphasize even more the concept of dialogue between the images of the book. And then the single pages. So there are essential to lighten the rhythm of the entire book. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and thank you to the whole PhMuseum crew, Giuseppe, Camilla, Rosa. Thank you to Lewis for mentoring us, and thank you to all the FOLIO participants for giving me the opportunity to see their art.
Lovely. Great. Thank you so much, Greta. Really beautiful presentation. I just wanted to comment on how I think I'm really impressed by how you've really, thought about every single detail of design and format in this book, which is obviously so crucial to creating something that's really that's really special with a book dummy, and stuff like that typographic choice having its actual kind of aesthetic roots in the region, collaborating with the illustrator. Absolutely love these illustrations. I think they're really interesting. I will be honest and say that I was a little bit skeptical about this illustration element because it felt like it could go down a kind of cute path that maybe didn't necessarily correspond with this really interesting kind of dialogue that you're always having between the natural world and our attempts to preserve and study and monitor it. But in the end, these illustrations, I think, really capture something that's that's a little bit different, and that works really nicely for me. So yeah, great, well done.
Thank you, Lewis.
Greta, you want to say something about the title since we have a little minute?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I actually wanted to ask that. I forgot.
Yes, the entire process of the title was really complex. Initially, I used an idiom from the Aosta Valley in dialect, but it was incomprehensible and not relevant to the project. Then I read a lot of books, of anthropology books, articles, and never managed to find a title that was really short and efficient enough. And I come back to the first idea and studied, I think, all the idioms of the Aosta Valley, and I found it takes everything to make the word. So I think it's perfect to convey the idea that we need all species of living to coexist. And then the concept of the nature is a Western invention, as we are all part of the world and we are not as separate as we think. So this is the title.
Great. Thanks so much for it and for engaging a lot within the region, beyond your work. That's really nice. Okay. Thanks so much again, Greta. I will remember that all these photobook dummies will be hopefully printed and presented in exhibition that will happen in Bologna on 18-19 of October. So you're all welcome to come and join us for our first fair on bookmaking called Photobook Mania. And we still have 6 artists to go. The next artist to present is Romane Bladou. Welcome, Romane.
Hello, thank you. Let me share my screen. Can you see that without the notes?
We do. Now it's fine without the notes. Thanks.
Okay. I know it takes a few steps somehow. Hello, everyone. My name is Romane Bladou. I'm a French and a Canadian photographer, originally from Marseille in France. And I'll be talking to you today about this book I've been working on for the past few years now, titled Pins and Needles. So in this book, I've been trying to convey physical sensation through photography, particularly this feeling of having pins and needles, of waking up from a numbness. I started working on this project in the summer of 2022, when I was doing a residency in California. And this is a project that is very different from anything I've done before, in the sense that it wasn't planned. I didn't try to conceptualize it before making it. It was felt before it was decided somehow. Because when I arrived there, it was right after the pandemic confinement. And then I found myself noticing phenomena in a way I hadn't in a very long time, in a way I hadn't since before the pandemic. So I was noticing the interaction between the fog and my skin, the behavior of the animals, the traces we leave around us. And I felt weirdly out of place, yet very much in touch with the natural world at the same time. And so I started writing down those things I was noticing and then recreating them, restaging them for the large format camera. So it was unexpected, a bit raw at first, and in many ways destabilizing. And when I was putting this project, now that I've been working on it for a long time, I was putting this project into words, and I was going back to the original writing I was doing at the very beginning of the project, to try to get back to this, to remember what was the first experience of this work. So at the very beginning, I wrote, I started working on a new photographic series that is hungry for strangeness. Maybe it is because here pelicans gorge themselves on small fish that then fall out of their mouths onto the marine paths and mine. Perhaps it is because the air is wet on our skins, because the blankets are pink and blue and shared, because the windows are hands and the friendship will hold. It may be because I see a roadside coyote when I close my eyes, or because the eucalyptus branches sing us lullabies. Maybe it is only the flesh of the fruits, the blur in the windshields. We walk blind in the fog and in the night, guessing all that is hidden and all that is wild. And so even though this series was born in the late COVID, it is not a project about the pandemic. It's not a project about this moment that impacted us all. Rather, it's about the universal experience of getting back to our senses, of getting back to our body. And this sort of sensorial experience can happen after a confinement like here, but also after a convalescence, a depression, when coming back into a place we haven't been to in a very long time. It's about the relation and sometimes disconnect that we entertain with our environment. And so for me, Pins and Needles is about a desire to connect, so to embody a place, an attempt at translating its multisensorial aspects in a visual manner, to notice the elements present and to stage them. And I feel like we live in a hyper-connected world, yet it seems that we're always seeking other forms of connections that are maybe more authentic with each other, with our environments, sort of looking for a grounding. And this series for me represents this state of vulnerability and of receptivity we find ourselves in, that is our senses in full alert. So about the book itself, this will be the cover, hopefully. It's an image that I didn't actually end up using in the selection, but that felt right as a cover. It's one single photograph that I'm using as front and back of this window that was covered with a blanket. And this is a digital mock-up, but ideally it would be printed onto fabric, because I wanted to have some tactility, some texture. And wouldn't have any text on the front or back cover, only on the spine. And then in terms of technical aspects, the book is 112 pages and it's 24 by 30 centimeters, because I wanted to keep the 4:5 format of the images that I took. So you'll see that in the book we have some some landscape format images, some portrait format ones, but they all maintain this 4:5 ratio. And so in the images, the recreation of moments that seem mundane or the exaggeration of certain gestures, the lighting, all methods that I'm using here to evoke a certain strangeness. Sometimes the juxtaposition of people, places, and objects we wouldn't necessarily imagine together become elements that we can question. And to me, if I try to think of, when I think about this book, it's like something hatching or blooming. It's about this idea of like stretching out our limbs, of like finally coming out, opening the door, being blinded by the sun. So in the series, we can find images of nests, of cocoons, of bed sheets, of curtains, but there's also images of snake sheds as renewals, of vast places, of rivers, of flowers. And then when I'm thinking about this idea of like showing sensoriality through images, I was like something that I started doing was showing bodily sensations, because I was asking myself question, how does one represent languor or thirst, or how do you show those things in a photographic manner? And by working with the textures and skin, I was trying to present elements that show the interactions that exist between our bodies and our environments, like grass imprints, for example, here, or goosebumps, or wetness, or all those visuals. I can show that. And I was also observing the surrounding fauna a lot. And this way, this project is also about learning from those behaviors, the way other animals create a home, the way they interact with place, with the elements. Some make nests, some live in cocoons, in community, some hibernate in holes, in burrows. And I found myself looking at them almost as examples as I was searching the ways on how to carry myself or how to behave in this like confusing time. So in the book, we find a lot of windows, a lot of being inside, looking outside. And just like Greta was saying, for me, the sequencing was the hardest part, because I have very different images. Some are daytime, nighttime, landscape, portrait, details. And it was hard to, it took me a very long time to find like a harmonious sequence. And then working with Lewis, we were thinking about those windows and how they can help us sequence the book. So we find them at different intervals in the book where we'd have this window, and then when you turn the page, it feels almost as you're crossing that window or going on the other side of it. And that's a way for me to separate sequences that are inside from sequencing that are outside within the book, and it happens a few times. More windows. Oops, sorry. Too fast. Also to like convey certain confusion or like the feeling of being lost in thoughts and in place, I've been working with those blurred images as if having our vision out of focus. And it was another strategy to sequence the book and to bring a bit of softness to it. Or by playing with the gazes of the people who are photographed, like the direction in which they look. And then finally, like the last strategy I was doing was adding inserts into the book. So this is just a digital mock-up again, but the idea is to add some thinner textured paper in this maybe ivory or cream color at regular intervals in the book. So it can bring back some tactility to it. It makes us read a book through another one of our senses. But it also reminds a lot of notions of concealment that are present, like curtains and tarps and nets and spider webs. And then like here, the kind of like cottonous cocoon aspect of it. That's another moment when it happens. And finally, I have the sequence here that is just over 3 slides. But you can see the different formats of the images. So except for the full bleed double pages, they're all in that 4x5 format. So I have 2 ratios for the landscape and 2 ratios for the portrait ones. Et voilà. So yeah, many thanks to Lewis, to Giuseppe, to Camilla, and to everyone who took part in this class for the conversations, for the inspiration. It's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun doing it with you all.
Great. Thank you so much, Romane. That all looked really great. I was just reflecting on as you were kind of talking about kind of where you were at the beginning as well. And I think what I've noticed is just a lot of opening up and loosening of how you approach your own practice, and projects like yours that are obviously so much more about building a kind of visual world and an atmosphere that's non-narrative compared to certain other projects that are more based in a particular place, time, or subject, is a really difficult thing. And I think it's looking like really good progress.
Thank you.
Great. Congrats, Romane. Great job. I know editing is hard, but it's it's nice to see the result in the book, and hope to see it live in Bologna in a few months. So best wishes for it. And the next person to present is Dylan Safranek. Hello, Dylan. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Sorry. Okay, sorry, my apologies. Okay, so I'm showing my project To the Moon and Back, and I'll read a little statement about it first. As my father gradually loses his ability to communicate and sustain himself, he becomes a shadow of who he once was, and the line between presence and absence blurs. The images try to capture what remains and allude to what has already been lost. The camera serves as both witness and participant, tracing the landscapes of memory and grief, interwoven with self-portraits taken during moments of deep reflection on the mundane and the profound. The work explores the ways loss reshapes us, not just in what we remember, but in how we move forward. To the Moon and Back is not about resolution, but about the search. It is an invitation to reflect on the impermanence of life, the weight of memory, and the ways we find our way after loss. And so what I'm showing is a mock-up of how I'm seeing it now before I start pushing it to publishers. I think that I have an idealized version of this project, and now I'm working on collaborating with other people to come up with a dummy to have at the Photobook Festival. And so this work traces kind of my time over 10 years of, I mean, longer than 10 years, but I started photographing my father kind of at this moment in 2012 when I had just transferred to art school for photography in Pennsylvania. My family, my parents got divorced when I was young. And so I grew up between Miami and this town where my grandmother lived, Jupiter Farms, and where my mom grew up outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. And so there was always this distance, this element of the trip, kind of throughout my entire life, my whole childhood, constantly, driving back and forth between the two places, sometimes flying. But when my dad first, became sick, it was after, a bad accident, as he was working lawn mowing on a mountain in North Carolina. And so, this kind of sentiment that, my father, was always kind of a man trying to live by his morals, and kind of, he was also a person who wanted to work for himself and didn't really believe in kind of corporate life. So, and it's kind of passed off onto me in this, I've noticed in the whole process of trying to push this project over the years. So I have these photos of all my family trying to, kind of just make it through all of these moments, especially, because my dad he lived at my grandmother's house until they couldn't take care of him, and then went into an assisted living facility in West Palm Beach. And then just year after year, his body would just decline, but his mind was the first thing to go. And so unfortunately, it was hard for him to communicate any of his real needs, or last wishes or last thoughts. And so all he really had to leave behind was, this trunk of things that he possessed throughout his life, which was just kind of photo albums and some kind of, stuff from his time as a tugboat captain and his life at sea. And it just all kind of really resonated that the only thing that you can kind of get out of any big loss, bad situation, is this feeling of rising above it and coming together. And so this last section is kind of just the last, my father died in 2020 during COVID. And so, there was a big air of having to do all this stuff on my own and with my brother, both of us just having to drive straight down to Florida, on a moment and just be with my dad for, it ended up being a week that he was in this hospital before he finally passed, 8-9 days. And so there was a lot of time just spent thinking about this moment that my whole family knew was going to come, and it had been prolonged for longer than people, some people had wanted. And it's just, it was a moment of relief, and something that I always, I always brought back to, these photographs that my dad left me. And this is one of them, with the back that he wrote, "Dylan, you can see in your eyes the true love for your brother. Keep this picture to remind you what it looks like when things get tough. Love always, Dad." And I end this book with a photo that I took of my brother and I on the beach the morning we found out my father had finally passed, before we were able to get to the hospital. And then I would like to round this out with the eulogy, since I can't figure out, well, it's not that I can't figure out. I was choosing not to put any text at all, but I wanted to move it, to kind of grow it into, out another section, another 16 pages. And I feel I have to eulogize my father at some point, since he wasn't able to have a funeral during COVID and for other family reasons. So this is kind of a placeholder, and I'll write it for the copy that I would like to make for the photo book festival. That's for sure. So that would be the end of the book. And so this is how I'm kind of, in my limited creativity, this is how I would imagine the book, with maybe more of like I'm interested in like a more PVC, like faux leather type hardcover book, about 8.5 by 10.5 or 8 by 10 or something like that. But now that's how I had been thinking about it. But I'm also, as I write this eulogy, it's, making me think more and more things. So I would like it maybe to be smaller. I'm reminded of these stones that my dad was a really kind of new agey spiritual person, and he was really into stones. And he took us on our family's, my grandmother and her boyfriend, they took their last trip to the Czech Republic when I was in middle school. They would go every year because they had family there. And my father got us Moldavite pendants when on the trip. And it was something that when I started going through all of this stuff, that I started wearing the pendant again. And Moldavite is known as like a very transformative and powerful stone. So I'm thinking about maybe, replacing this, cover image with maybe a picture of Moldavite. And, because it's Moldavite was formed from a comet hitting Europe, millennia ago. And it has a certain cosmic quality to it, which adds to its, transformative properties. So, that's kind of where I'm at now. And I'm working with a graphic designer buddy and a publisher buddy to kind of get it into a nice finished product, and then start pushing it to, try to get some funds to either publish through my friend or find a publisher that would, that believes in the project.
Amazing.
Thank you, guys. And I want to say thank you, everyone, for all the help and all the wisdom and camaraderie.
Great. Thank you so much, Dylan. I think the final sequence that you've ended up at is really powerful. And I know how much kind of, courage and kind of vulnerability it takes in order to, actually deal with all of this visual matter, because it obviously has so many kind of heavy personal emotions and associations attached. And so that, that's been a long process, hasn't it? And so I think you've got it into a really good place. And you should feel proud of that. And it also it introduces all of those difficult subjects with grace, and with kind of dignity as well. So yeah, it's looking great. Well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, great job, Dylan. And you know that sometimes we all say like, we have to meet the deadline, we have to do this in time. Well, I think it's good that you're giving such project the times to develop, so emotionally. And I'm curious to see like the next step. Now I wish to like find a designer that you can kind of continue this great work with.
Yeah, and they're both people that have known me for a long time, and I just finally reached out to them because they're on the East Coast and I moved to the West Coast about 4 years ago, and so it's been a minute, but they've known me for so long, and they're like, okay, and this class has been so great because it's been such an outside perspective to the things that I've been around for years. But now I'm coming back to the people that know me the best, and they're like, there's all these elements that I think maybe we could work with to, especially him being a creative graphic designer. He's like, okay, let's get to work. So yeah, I'm excited, and I'll keep you guys posted.
Great. Best wishes, Dylan. Thanks so much again.
Thank you, guys.
The next participant is Francisco Canton. Welcome, Francisco.
Thank you, Giuseppe, and thank you, Dylan. That was a really beautiful presentation. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen now. In 1 second. Okay, so I think now you should be able to see the entire thing. Okay, so this is my presentation for my dummy book. I finally named it Axolotl. Before I get into the reasoning for the name, I am going to show first this page. Before signing up to do this workshop, I did workshop this kind of project twice with other two tutors, and I think that here I feel very, very grateful for the help from Lewis and Giuseppe and Cami and the rest of the group, because I feel like I've finally kind of like broken into something else. The work started. I'm a filmmaker. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I'm living in Paris. The work started by I started by featuring kind of like only Polaroids, and it was only black and white. And I was convinced that I had to approach this very formally. I don't know exactly why, but perhaps it's because of the books that I was mainly looking at. And I was considering that this should be a very formal, very kind of like square approach, and very kind of like consistent and cohesive all throughout. And the first thing that I did at the beginning of this workshop, or that I kind of like that came out of speaking to you guys, was to maybe mix it up with all of my other work, and not necessarily kind of stick to what I had been working with, which took me to create like a more I was quite scared or kind of like fearful of creating something too eclectic. So I was trying to keep all the rest of the work away, and kind of like trying to keep this formal approach, which in the end is not what I did. And this is why I'm happy about the result. What you can see on the right here was like the way in which I was editing this work before. After a long time, I finally decided to name the book Axolotl. I wanted for the name to be universal, and axolotl is a mostly universal word. I'm going to read out loud the couple of paragraphs that are here. Axolotl is a visual journal made over the past 7 years, during a time where I felt suspended between places and moments, never quite beginning, never fully ending. Like the animal it's named after, the book resists closure, reshaping itself into something always unfinished. The axolotl is a creature that stays underwater, never completing its metamorphosis, basically stopped in time. It exists between stages, youth and adulthood, inside and outside, before and after. It doesn't become. The images in this book live in a similar place, between growth and stillness, quietly observing the surface of things. Beneath that surface is a quiet fear of change, of becoming someone else, of leaving curiosity behind. There is a book, of course, of an axolotl in my book, and I hadn't paid close attention to it like this before. This is also happening at the same time as I coincidentally revisit a book of an Argentine writer that was close to me for my whole life, called Julio Cortázar. And in this book of short stories, there is a short story called Axolotl, about a man who has just moved to France and goes to this kind of aquarium and gets fascinated by the axolotl. And it's kind of like a magic realism book where he ends up becoming one. But what I appreciated is kind of like this observational aspect of the book and the fascination aspect as well. And I couldn't help but feel identified by it. Of course, like my picture of the axolotl was in an aquarium in a place where I was living alone, and I revisited constantly to photograph. And I think that it kind of applies to a lot of the other ideas or emotions or themes that appear that are about this kind of like transition into adulthood that feels stopped, and a mutation that somehow feels halfway through done. I started to speak about the concept of something that I hadn't done before, is speaking about the concept of the book in my therapy, and that brought me to many conclusions about like some of my own fears of kind of like growing older and leaving curiosity behind, or kind of like just mutating into a more let's say serious form of adulthood. And as I did that, I started to see repeating patterns in some of the photographs that are from the last 7 to 8 years. These are some of the pictures that are in the sequencing, and now I will show you also some of the spreads that I made. At first, the book was mainly black and white, and I think I started to feel more eager to include the color work. I don't mean for the emotion of the book to feel heavy or like, on the contrary, I want for this kind of idea of weightlessness, of kind of childlike curiosity, and of tenderness, perhaps. These are the first 9 pages of the book. Besides from working on it with you here, I reached out to a photographer whose book I liked recently, called François Jonquet. I think I showed his book in the class, and I became a bit like pen pals with him, and he helped me also with the sequencing lately, and with finding like an interesting narrative to the pictures. And it was quite refreshing to see that, because I think after a while of being familiarized with the images, it's nice to have the perspective of another colleague photographer as well. These are the pages that follow in other types of kind of spreads. And I think what follows is the last pages of the book, because I didn't want to take you through the whole thing. And unfortunately, I don't have a cover just yet because I have basically been working on the sequencing, and my book is at a rather earlier stage. But I do know what I want from it, and these last few weeks have been quite eye-opening in terms of the reasoning behind what I want. This is just a placeholder for it. I know that it will be a soft cover at first. If I pay attention to the more to the other kind of desire I had with the book, that was with this formal kind of like square black and white direction. I wanted to make something, of course, like hardcover and this kind of like sturdy piece of book. And I don't know, after going through this new way of sequencing it and these themes and this concept, it felt like the book wanted to be something softer. So it's gonna be a soft cover. I'm still thinking about the idea of putting it inside a hard shell. Perhaps yes, perhaps not. I don't know yet. The size is 22 centimeters by 25.5. It's going to be 96 pages, and the paper is a paper that I recently saw in another book. It's called EOS 2.0, and I like the tone of it and the thickness of it. And the cover, even though it's not designed, I managed to, after chasing her for many months, to work with a graphic designer that I have worked before for titles in one of my films. But the work that she does graphically is quite playful and sometimes colorful. So I've spoken to her last week, and I'm gonna see what comes out of it. But I'm thinking that perhaps the cover will be some sort of illustration and not necessarily a photograph featuring the name. And it's probably gonna be quite colorful. As I said before, I want for the cover and back cover to have an element of playfulness and again of this kind of like childlike curiosity to be reflected in the design. I would like to make it and excuse me if the terms are not right, but I would like to make this kind of binding where the spreads can open fully and kind of like the book, you don't need to stretch it out too much, but the double spreads can open completely. And I like for the binding to be sewn into it and to be able to see it, especially on the double spreads like this photograph from another book. Yeah, this is sort of it for me.
Great, thank you so much, Francisco. Yeah, really, really nice to see it all starting to come together. I liked what you were talking about there for the cover and for the format ideas as well. That all seems quite well thought out. Just one thought I had was that it might be interesting. Did you ever contemplate that short story that you were talking about at the beginning? You know, it can also be an interesting idea sometimes to also pair up existing text with photographs. We've done it lots of times before, where obviously your works do have a kind of magical realist kind of slightly kind of surreal qualities to them that speak more maybe to fiction than to non-fiction. So it can also sometimes be an interesting idea to contemplate actually pairing up, even if it has some of the same kind of aesthetics and tonalities and feels as what you pursue in your pictures. Don't be afraid to do gestures like that as well.
Mm-hmm. That could be interesting. I hadn't thought about it really. At some point, I thought it's the short story. It's completely all about the animal and about this relationship between the man gazing at it, and at some point it becomes a lot about how he's transformed and how reality is shifted, and he's inside the thing being observed. But perhaps it could be like a fraction, especially of the first part, where he speaks about this idea of kind of observing it, and is fascinated about how it stays in this kind of like half mutation state.
Well, yeah, it might just be a really convenient way to be able to help people think more conceptually about the title. Because I totally get that reference, but if it's not explained in some way, and you want to explain it in a bit of an abstract way because of how your pictures are, then maybe just a portion of that text might allow people to understand why you're employing that word as one to kind of invite this sort of sense of in-betweenness or transformation.
Absolutely. I'm gonna
Cool.
have another look. Thank you, Lewis.
Great. Well done, Francisco.
Thank you. Thank you, Lewis, and thank you, Epe and Cami, and thank you to the rest of the class. It's been super good to participate.
Thanks, Francisco. Great work, and yeah, we're curious to see more in the coming months. So we are 3 participants to go. The next one is Kate Nolan. Welcome, Kate.
Hello. Let me see. Okay, brilliant. Can you see that?
We do.
Okay.
Yes.
So my name is Kate Nolan, and I'm an Irish photographer based in Dublin. And I'm going to present my book dummy and project Lacuna. So Lacuna considers the physical and psychological impact of the 1921 partition of Ireland on the young people of the Irish borderlands. So through photographs, their drawings, testimonies, archival images, the project documents the Irish frontier as a post-conflict space. While doing so, it challenges the fixity of the border by providing a counter-narrative to the daily reality of place. I began this research project in early 2016, before Brexit was part of the lexicon. It hadn't been invented yet. As Brexit and the political disturbances ensued left the borderlands in a state of limbo, this work grew and adapted, mapping its structure to reflect these changes. So I carried out my research in 3 border locations. First is Pedigo, which you see here in the photograph, and then Carlingford Lough and Bessbrook. So in this rural village of Pedigo, the River Termon marks the physical border between counties Donegal and Fermanagh. Crossing any of the 3 bridges in the small village means stepping into another country, and since Brexit, in and out of the European Union without even realizing. And then we have Carlingford Lough, which the ferry crosses daily from the south to the north and back again, amidst this kind of epic scenery, legend, and folklore. It's nestled between 2 mountain ranges, the Mourne and the Coolies, and this tranquil fjord-like finger of the Irish Sea is a contested waterway in the Brexit debate that still continues. And then finally, the last location I worked in was the mixed religion community of Bessbrook in South Armagh, which was the first kind of model village in Ireland, providing the finest linen in the world and providing employment for generations. It's also been the area where the violence of the Troubles lingers in its representation. In 1970, the British Army took the Bessbrook Mill as their base for operations in South Armagh. They left 37 years later. So through this work, I'm looking at the generation that has been brought up after the Good Friday Agreement, after the Troubles. So when I was working on the exhibition of Lacuna, many questions came up. How do I echo the collaborative nature of Lacuna and how the children led me through the borderlands? The work that they did through this project, photographically, through drawings, through performances, their conversations with me. And also how to incorporate layers of historical information that are so essential for a fuller understanding of the theme, especially when it comes to an international audience. These same questions came again with the book. In the end, through the use of different papers and design solutions, these elements came together to question this invisible line drawn on a map from the view of the children of the borderlands. And this is the front cover with the title and my name in the spine. And this is the back cover. And here is a spread of the book. So it incorporates 3 different paper stocks. It has 1 booklet in the back. It currently has 112 pages, but that's flexible. There's 6 inserts, which is in color papers, which I'll go through in a minute, but I'll take you through some of the spreads. So the book starts on the border, moving across the Carlingford Loch. And this is stills from a video piece, and it's printed on really light paper, so you flip through very quickly. But it brings you right into the space. And then it starts with a small text. It was really important for me to acknowledge my presence and its effect on the young people that I work with. So it says, "Kate, you have to go over this way." As they all piled ahead of me, traversing the cobbled together planks, bridging the gap, I saw something they did not. They had just stepped from Donegal into Romane, from the Republic of Ireland into the United Kingdom, from one country to another with neither thought nor consideration. And I'll just go through some of the spreads. It was really important for me to bring in this playfulness and joy that I had being led by the children around the borderlands, and this use of the materiality and the color of the sugar paper that evokes childhood and inserting it in with the images. My images themselves kind of replicate that the border is a cavity in understanding, a landless land, kind of obscured details, unclear distinctions, somewhere between night and dawn. And it slips through the fingers like river water or smoke as the children watch. Throughout the book and on the cover as well, which I'll bring up again, there are these drawings by the children. So I brought in a game to the youth groups in the schools where there's a line, just the line of the Irish border without a map included in it. And they would take the line and they would move the page around and they had to create something. And I just wanted to reinforce that it was their space. So whatever political decisions were being made, it was their land and for them to claim it in whatever kind of creature they wanted. I, again, like a lot of people, found the editing of the work really hard. I have a lot of different types of images, a lot of different locations that I worked in, drawings, testimonies, conversations. But I think I got there or close in the end. And this is another text I brought in by Susie Blue. She's a young musician, artist that lives up in the north. And I thought it was just really beautiful what she's writing or what she's talking about, the position in Northern Ireland. And there's a long representation of photographing and talking about the border and the north, but not so much from this a new generation, from this young generation. And then we go back at the end of the book to these really thin papers back into the water, but we kind of dive deep in now. And then in the back of the book is the booklet, a small booklet. I have this booklet sits inside the back cover with the image wrapping around. So it sits inside, the back cover and then wraps around to the back. I'll show you at the end. So this booklet aims to do a few things. Firstly, to contextualize the history of the Irish border, to acknowledge the visual legacy of borderland representation marked by generations of photographers, and to kind of compress timelines to think about the potential histories in these spaces. So we have a photograph by Tony O'Shea opening a border crossing at the Leitrim-Fermanagh border in 1993. And then we have a text by Rebecca Evans reflecting on her experience living on the border as a child. We have a contact sheet of images taken by an unknown photographer that I found in the National Library collection. And it's titled House on the Border, half in the south and half in the north. So the photograph is representation of this woman in 1976, showing her daughter how the house is split in two. A contemporary text from a young girl on the left-hand side by Millie. And then the image on the right-hand side is from Bestbrook, so a room in Derrymore House, where the Act of the Union was ratified, apparently, in 1800, starting, our long history of colonization. And then the final piece is a still from the Seat of the Trouble from the British Pathé newsreel in 1924, which is sitting on the bridge in Pedigo, where the whole project began. And then this is the hands of the soldier. So on the left is the Irish Free State soldier, and on the right is the British soldier. So the hands are represented in the front and the back of the booklet. So Lacuna tries to transcend the Irish case, appealing to the universal story of division, inviting to listen to young people in the borderland, embracing listening as and seeing through as firm political gestures. And it embraces the potential of a novel and effective and visual sense of belonging in territory and history. So thank you all. Thank you, Giuseppe, Camille, Rosa, and Lewis for helping me and guiding me through the process of making this book dummy. It was really hard, and I think it's still in progress, but there's things that I think have formed very well. And thank you to everyone else for helping and being involved. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Kate. Thanks for that very well-organized presentation. I think what you said just at the end there really struck with me, which is obviously a really important thing with a book project is to find ways to get that specific kind of local or issue and find ways that people can relate to it outside of its context. And I think that the sequence and the flow of images that we've arrived at does manage to do that successfully, where you don't have to necessarily have a level of familiarity with the complexities of the Irish border in order to understand what it says about borders, about children, about other people's perspectives, and the kind of ways that these things can politicized and can fluctuate. And yeah, we've obviously, you know, talked about that a lot. And I think for me, the image core is feeling really quite resolved now. So it's just a question of that, yeah, some of that other, especially on that booklet, I suppose, about thinking about what to include, what not to include, how to, you know, make all of that information digestible. But in some ways, separating those things out does allow people in as well to a story that, you know, at least through the images that they might not necessarily have been familiar with. So yeah, that's great, and I like the cover too.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, the cover's great.
Yeah,
Cover's
I
great,
kind of
'cause
like that it's a bit, you don't quite know what it is when you're looking at it. You don't know what's going to be inside.
Well, in some ways, that literally condenses two of those ideas into one, doesn't it? Because you're looking at something that you can tell is a child's drawing, and so at first you're going to be a bit like, "What's this?" And then later you can very much tell that it's a border, and so you know it's got that's containing two of the key concepts of the book in one image. So that's successful.
And do you think the archival, the hands wrapping around the back of the book, do you think that works as well?
I'm not sure how that would work technically. That's my only question, because like you're saying that that's the, you know, I don't know, is it attached? Is it just literally folded round? Because we obviously have gravity to think about, because if so, it's not going to float magically in the middle of the book.
It's going to be attached. It was going to be attached to the back as well.
Okay, cool. Then yeah, that could work.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Great work and presentation, Kate. Thanks so much. And yeah, book dummies. The good thing is that you did the exercise like everybody else, you know, like to try to wrap it up in a form that is as much complete as possible. And I'm very happy of the results we've seen, your work and that of all the class. Then, of course, probably it will take one direction if you find a publisher, or another if you decide to self-publish, and that's when you kind of really wrap it up completely. So
yeah,
great job, and don't worry too much about it. If you not feel the version you really want to. Okay, great. Thanks so much, Kate. The next participant is Tomoko Nagakawa. Welcome, Tomoko.
Hi. Hi everyone. I'm just gonna start explaining or telling you about the beginning of this project. I'm just gonna share that screen quickly. Wait, I did something wrong again, didn't I? Oh my goodness, I messed it up. Hang on. Yeah. Right. This is a letter of my reflective journey and an act of celebration of lives around me, combining the two series I created since I decided to embark on my printing process. Paper is laid in front of me, waiting to accept the new layer. I let my hand slide on the surface slowly. I completed each image, laying emotion, following the rhythm of my own breathing. My existence becoming part of this physical communication. Slowness of letters reaching others create the space of time, and my thought travel patiently with the letter until it reaches its destination. So, originally I was working on conventional format, focusing on sequence and the construction of book design. And then my mom passed away suddenly. That's quite recently. And I received many condolence letters from family and her friends. And holding these letters gave me such comfort, and couldn't resist thought of making a book, which would possibly give this feeling. And I realized that it also makes sense, since these images are all different format, and they demand more physical movement and flow if laid along horizontal areas. So I kind of final moment, I decided to make the book, it's horizontally really long. It is a letter that poses the dilemma of absent presence for lover and beloved. Letter can be sent across vast distances, bridging time and space. People separated by distance, but connected by the written word. I like that idea of presenting this distance and the space on the long spread pages. Physically uncomfortable, yet somehow connected in the book form. I'm just gonna, obviously I just started it from almost scratch for a couple of weeks ago. So I haven't decided that the cover yet, but we're getting there. Wait. And I'm hoping that the cover will be horizontal, but the page, cover will be vertical, but go the horizontal pages inside. Yep, that's about it. I actually got, I haven't put in the presentation, but yeah, that I still haven't figured out the cover yet, but sort of open up, then it goes that way for really long. And it goes on like this.
Yeah, that's a very beautiful format, Tomoko, and it's to hear how it also connects to also some of the messages and things that you've received recently. I also think it's a valuable lesson for many people to learn too about that. Sometimes also there comes a moment in a project to completely switch and flip your ideas and start again from scratch and work fast when you used to be working slowly, and unexpected things can occur. What I noticed from looking at that sequence and from looking previously at the work is that it felt darker, and I don't know if that feels influenced by the recent tragic events in your life, or I don't know, there was more of a kind of sense of mortality or of kind of dark and light, and it felt a little bit more present in this sequence than in previous ones. So that for me feels like a really interesting progression.
Sorry, Lucy, you haven't seen this format, never. So I just changed the whole thing completely without asking you. But
no,
yeah.
but you don't need to ask for my permission.
But yeah, I just like to play with that more the space and show that seeing that sort of distance, because that's probably what the letter is about in the end. I kind of realized that originally thought of sort of sending out, somebody receiving, creating this loop, whatever. But just having this well, I don't know the size. I need to do the proper math. Depends on how I print, because it's just such a long print in one go. It might be restrict the size wise, but it kind of show if really odd having one image at end, but having the vast distance, that almost kind of non-blank space, then there's something in the other side. I thought it completely makes sense for me that that's the letter is about, but for somehow it kind of connects that the two side of, the people into that kind of one stage. So I thought I'm just gonna, although it's kind of late in the stage now, but I decided to just go for it.
Cool. That's good. I'm happy. Well done.
Thank you.
Congrats, Tomoko. I already commented on the shape of the book last time, so I'm also happy about it. And yeah, it's good. Very good what Lucy said before. Like it feels like from outside that you did the click, and this direction you're taking is really on point. So I hope you can follow this flow.
Thank you, Sepp and Camilla and Lewis, to accommodate me. Thank you very much, and the rest of the people. It's been a pleasure working with you guys.
Thank you, Tomoko. Thanks so much. Okay, the next and last participant to present is Debbie Castro. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you very much. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so my project is called Age is a Privilege Unless You Forget. It's a project about dementia. Just starting with a little statistic, there are 55 million people worldwide who are living with dementia at the moment. Dementia is like an umbrella term. So there's lots of different types like Alzheimer's and that. There's like 65,000 in Ireland currently living with Alzheimer's. So it didn't come out of a topic of like, this is what I need to look at, but it was a personal project because my dad unfortunately got Alzheimer's, or he started developing, or was diagnosed, should I say, in 2012. So we didn't know really that much about dementia at that time. And I suppose through conversations and through doing this project, now I know a lot more. And basically then I found a whole archive of Dad's images. And through working with his images and looking at his eye and selecting a number, I was able to move through my grief, move through understanding what dementia meant, and also to be able to collaborate with community and kind of collaborate with others and kind of understand what people are going through. You go through every single emotion, like what unfortunately people do when they're going through grief. And I suppose I really wanted that to work in this project. Sorry, I should have been flicking through this to make it a little bit more interesting. Anyway, I just want to tell you just a little bit more, just to remind everybody that it's basically going through my grief. And it was like then a lot of scraping, there was a lot of scrunching of the images. I'd only print out the images once. I was very strict with that. And then it was like going through that meditative process, and then whatever I was feeling, I would take out on the image. And it's quite cathartic actually for me. Through that, which I never write, because I find it actually quite difficult to speak and write, but I was able to write a letter to my dad. And again, this was a way of being able to move through this. So anyway, I just thought that the next step could be really interesting is to do a book. And this came along and I'm really grateful for it because it just made me think in many different ways. There was something though through the process that I just felt, okay, it can't be completely bound. And I don't know why I felt really restricted by that, but it just felt really like overwhelming to have it bound. And through kind of like looking at other things like transmedia and different things, and just the way I work and the way I think, which I think Giuseppe and Lewis kind of found out, I think like big. And it kept on growing bigger and bigger and bigger as we met, and I wanted to do more and more and more. So I suppose what the best advice, and I suppose my reality was I need to get a graphic designer. So I think that was the best advice, because actually I just needed somebody to tell me, just go and do that, because I could be messing around and it just wouldn't come. I know when something works or doesn't work, but I just can't do it myself, and I just had to admit that. So that was okay. The unfortunate thing is that I've met, like, it's Luke James from Many Hands, and he is now the graphic designer, but it took then a while for this to get into place and to do it. So I suppose I'm at a place that I've got the idea. I'm going to give you the overview, and like, but it will probably transform a little bit as we move on. I just want to say about the color as well here that's in the slides. It is this pink, and it is a pink on purpose, because people who are living with dementia, they might not remember you, but they remember a feeling. So you might walk away and like you go, oh, well, I saw dad or I saw mom or whoever it was. And then they think, oh, goodness, like, or you think, oh, sure, that didn't mean anything. But actually you leave them with a feeling, and it's all about feeling. So it's all about this warmth. And I feel like this color gives you a hug. So I don't know whether you guys do or not. But anyway, so going back to this, so I decided on doing a deconstructed book. So that kind of means that there's a number of elements to it. So I wanted to have, first of all, a box or a bag. So we decided on a box, and the box is here. And inside the box would be like this. So it's kind of almost like a folder. And inside the folder, so I love envelopes and pockets and loads of different things. So inside the folder then, there would be, so if you can kind of understand that, there would be letters. Okay, now it's about community as well. So I wanted to invite other people who are going through the same process to write letters to whoever they want to. And what I did then is, instead of just having them separate in a separate booklet, I wanted to put the image inside the letter and to fold that up. So again, it's like an experience that you have to undo the sticker, unwrap the envelope, read the letter, and then see the image. And these are all altered images. So there's 10 images within those little envelopes. Everybody with me? Okay, so these are the 10 images here. Okay, so the reason that like I want to deconstruct the book is, like, I suppose, one, it mirrors the fragmentation of the mind and of memory. It creates like an intimate and tactile encounter. It invites the viewer into the process as well. And then there's many forms of expression, because again, depending on where in your grief, you'll be able to get to wherever point you want. So if you just want to read the letters and write your own letters, if you want to just look at the images, or then I've done a poster. So again, that all the images are all came like together like a map. There will be tools within this box. I don't know what the tools will be exactly yet, but it's going to be tools to be able to manipulate. And then there's going to be a little handkerchief, and the handkerchief contains the 7 sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing. Is it by Kubler-Ross, and she has actually like the 7 stages of grief. So these are the 7 stages of grief, and I want to have it because it's a physical form then, so that somebody can use that handkerchief then as well to have it with them. And then there's going to be an envelope for people to manipulate the unaltered photo. So I'm going to have 7 images that represent these, like the 7 stages of grief. And I'm welcoming and encouraging the person then to manipulate the images as they go through their grief, and they can keep their little like stories within the envelopes if they want to. They can put it onto a wall. They can do whatever they so wish within the images. So these are the 7 images then that I've chosen. So like bargaining, And then that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you for everybody for listening. Thank you, Giuseppe, Camilla, and Lewis. Thank you so much for everything. And any questions?
Thanks, Debbie. Yeah, great presentation. And yeah, I'm very pleased to see the first stages of that of that collaboration, because you have, I feel like you have lots and lots and lots of different ideas, and working with a graphic designer is often about giving some of those ideas physical form, because that's when you actually start to really test things out and get your head around what works and what doesn't. And some of those ideas you've had, I think, have taken a bit of convincing for me, but I think actually seeing some of it actually kind of laid out and mocked up and displayed like that does really kind of help me to see how all of these things could come together in one object. I also think to anchor this kind of the do-it-yourself element of it, to actually anchor it to those stages of grief, and therefore give it an actual kind of conceptual tie-in with the project. That kind of that starts to all make sense in a really nice way, where you're also therefore prompting people a little bit to think through those different levels of experience. So yeah, that's I think that's all really exciting.
Oh, great.
So yeah, well done.
Okay, good. Yay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Debbie, I'm also happy because I recall the project since before the masterclasses. So it's nice that you were. I mean, this will free up a lot of space, I think, for then keep developing it, because I'm sure that you will keep having ideas. But now, like, it's nice to see like how they are kind of working together smoothly, and also there is this kind of engaging activation that it's important. Like to I think share with others how you feel about this, like not just documenting this, or but also kind of wanting to sensibilize. So it's good that there is this personal touch, and like as Lewis say, maybe some ideas are working stronger than other, but it's good that it's very good to see the project at this stage.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay, so this is it. I mean, congratulations everybody for the beautiful presentation. Camille,
well done.
Yeah.
Well done, guys.
I didn't comment until now, but I was really happy to follow all of your talks, and I feel like it's really exciting to see how some of you just got like the right title idea, or unlocked the right cover idea, or like going through many different phases of layout, eventually found the few, let's say, rules to be broken. So I think it was really, really satisfying to follow this process from beginning to end. And I think you were also such a helpful group in between each other. And I think this was really, of a quality of the group. So thank you so much for sharing everything today.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, guys. I've had a really good time too, just following through all of these different processes and having so many different discussions.
And I want to thank you, Lewis, for all the energy and effort you put over the past 8 months, because following all these projects all together while doing the great work you do at Loose Joints, it's a challenge. So I really appreciate when you decided to jump in. Next year, there's going to be another tutor, Nicolas Polli, but we will take your contribution, to try to grow the program, and, like this collective way of doing things into the coming years. So thanks so much for this.
Great. Yeah, my pleasure. And yeah, thanks to all of you guys. I hope to also meet all of you somewhere, wherever book fairs, events in the future. Somewhere, wherever book fairs.
Nice. I will try to stop the YouTube live streaming like for more personal goodbyes. I'm not sure I'll be able to. I'll try. Okay, it's done. It's done. 255 minutes, 34 seconds.